Starting recording.
Sweet. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the MAP seminar for 2024 June. My name is Ravindu. I am the Product Operations Supervisor, and alongside presenting to me today is Zach. So we pretty much represent the Product Operations team. There are two others in our team, so that compromises four. So I'll just get straight into it and get on with the agenda. So the agenda for today is that it'll be split into two sections. So I will be presenting like a PowerPoint presentation, and then Zach will take over and go into MAP and like take you through MAP and how it works and just creating announcements. So we'll start off with any new changes in MAP, so any updates essentially since the last presentation which we had, which was around end of last year. Then run through the retractions and its processes, any common mistakes and omissions, more specifically towards results reporting or around 4-year stuff, as we are more focusing on that for this presentation. And then I'll go on to managing map users, and that will end the PowerPoint presentation part of it. And then Zach, he will go on to the map part of it and going into map internal and creating the step-by-step process of creating announcements, when and how to add issuer data, especially when it comes to results reporting. And he will just kind of gloss over some of the things I talked about in the PowerPoint slides and refer to them inside map and just a really in-depth look on how map works. After that is done, we'll have about 10 minutes to have questions, and we'll answer them for you as much as we can. So we'll just go on to the next part, which is map updates. So for map updates, there's only been one that has occurred since the last presentation, which is that we have gone from 20 megabytes to 30 megabytes. So the reason for this was driven by the increase in climate reporting. So climate reporting tends to have bigger size files. So issuers may have had it in the past that it doesn't fit the size file in that limit. So we have increased it to 30 megabytes, and also will be helpful for annual reports or 4-year reporting, as those are reports that you release or attach to in accordance to your announcement will be quite big, so it can help towards that. I would also like to note that it does have to be a PDF, so no other file format is supported. And this file size is just for one attachment. So if you want to upload multiple attachments, you can, but you do that individually, separately. So it's not like your total file size for all your attachments has to total to 30 megabytes. It's just each individual one. So the next part I will go on to is the retraction process. So the retraction process is something that is pretty common in what we do. And the reason why it would occur, for example, is material typo. So say for an example, you have an allotment that you're releasing, and the allotment that's stated in the text of your announcement is completely different from what's attached, or any errors that can cause reputational damage or financial damage. So maybe there's issues with, maybe you just wrote a complete different company name in your announcement, or maybe you had a name change and you had used the old name. Anything that can cause damage, that can cause a retraction, or even an incorrect attachment. Say you're releasing your results and you attached the results for last year instead of this year, that can cause a retraction. So what are the steps for a retraction? So if you believe there is a retraction needed, product operations will confirm the retraction with instructions, and then the issuer will release an amended announcement, which I will get into and how to do that. And then once that's done, we will then retract the NZX product operations will then retract the old announcement. So this is essentially how we create, you guys will create the amended announcement. So the important thing here is in the amended announcement to have amended in the title. That is a key thing. And then in the text, just to have a brief explanation of what has changed. So if you had an allotment change in the text, or for example, in this situation, it seems like a rate has changed. So you just have to specify that change in the top of the text. Now, the reason why we want you to do these things, especially with the amended, is that even though we retract the older announcement, NZX doesn't have control over how third parties manage NZX announcements. So Bloomberg Terminal or other platforms that monitor NZX announcements and display them, some of them might not retract the old announcement and they will just keep two of them. So it is important just for market clarity that you do note the amended announcement, and you are free to, email us or call us if there are any more questions around this when this is occurring. So common data omissions or mistakes for results. So a common, not really mistake, but a situation we commonly occur is that we see gender diversity in annual reports released alongside 4-year results. This information is not required to be entered with your preliminary results. So commonly we see an issuer release their results and they'll attach their annual report and they'll enter their gender diversity data, but then there will be mistakes, with that data, and you're making mistakes with for that data for something that wasn't even necessary. We want to highlight that it is only required when you're releasing your annual report. That is the only thing that is more or less important that we note for you to take from the presentation, is that gender diversity data is only required to be released when you're releasing your annual report. So the next part I want to talk about is NTAs. So some issuers are required to input an NTA. So it's not all of them. I'll go over the people that are required to. So that those are equity, fund only, and foreign exempt issuers. So those issuers have to release an NTA. So the common mistakes we see around an NTA are, for example, the difference in figures. So in your results sheet, which you release on your announcement, you might have 0.9, for example, but the amount that you've entered, it's 1.9 or 2.9, way vastly different. And commonly we see that you just haven't entered the NTA at all. You just haven't entered it. There's an NTA declared on your results sheet, but you just have forgotten to enter it. So this is just a quick screenshot, which Zach will go into more detail when he's creating announcements and maps. So you'll see a more easier look at it. But this is just like a quick snapshot. So this is essentially the company that the issuer that you represent, the date for the NTA, the currency. So make sure to click the applicable currency. For some for some foreign exempt issuers, it will most likely be not New Zealand dollars, and then NTA value per share. Make sure that it's in dollars, not cents. We commonly see sometimes it's in cents. The main reason why this is important, especially for issuers, is this is just not information you're just entering, especially if you enter it incorrectly. This is just not some information that goes, into some database and isn't seen anywhere. It is seen publicly. It is fed into our systems in NZX and then displayed publicly on nzx.com and other websites. So it can be misleading and it can be damaging to your company if you are to make a mistake around the difference of a figure of the NTA. So just to take in mind just that this does have public perception and does affect how people view your company. So earnings data, this is another entry point for results, and earnings data must be entered for half year or 4 years. So I'll just go over who needs to enter earnings data, and this covers pretty much everyone. So it includes equity, debt only, foreign exempt issuers, and registered banks, excluding those who issue equity. So the only people that don't have to enter earnings data are fund only issuers, which will only be a small minority of you. But for everyone else, that is a necessity. So what we commonly see is that issuers they might just not even enter the earnings data. They don't enter it at all. They forget to, or there's just differences in the amounts in comparison to the results sheet or their reporting. So just here's a quick snippet of what it looks like in map. So when you're creating the announcement and get to adding the issuer data part, you'll have the earnings data and also the NTA part highlighted. So it's there for your clarity, just to see that you need to input this information if that's for you to need to be entered. And here we have profit and loss, intangibles, and shareholder amount of shares issued. So these are the information that you need to add. Just make sure it's correct and it matches what's in your reporting. There's commonly we just see mistakes that come across. Is, for example, sometimes maybe an extra zero is added or something of that nature. Just make sure the numbers are added and you include all the information. Zach will go over more detail around specific mistakes we see, and he will go through just actually creating it itself. And also just the same thing I want to note, this is also publicly perceived. So when you're entering this earnings information, that is going to be displayed on NZX websites. So just make sure you take that into mind. So the next part of the presentation is map user management. So there are two different users. There are admin and restricted users. So admin users can do essentially everything that you need to do. So they can create an announcement, attach files to announcements, release announcements, take or transfer ownership to a different user, or request users to be deleted or added. Then restricted users don't have as much access. The only thing they can do is create announcements and attach. They cannot release announcements. So take that into consideration when you're setting up map users, is that restricted users can't release, they can only create announcements. So the next slide I'll go to is managing users. So we do want to highlight that only admin users can add, request, or delete users, as I said, and this is an NZX audit requirement. It is up to the issuer to manage their users. This is mainly just for risk mitigation, as you are in total control of managing your users. So if this is something that someone else has to do that's outside of your company, there's risk towards that. Someone can get added that you might not want to get added. So you have complete control over that. So in terms of how you do this, you'll go to user, request new user, and then you'll click that, and then there'll be a process, which I'll go on to the next slide of how to do that. And also you can request user deletion here as well. So this is when you go to request new user, and this is essentially what will display. You'll enter the email address that the user is associated with, the first name and the last name, and the type of user that they want to be. So if it's an admin or if it's a restricted user, that is up to you to decide. So the ideal number of users in map. So we recommend 3 map users, including at least 2 admin users. So this is really important, is that we want you to have as much admin users as possible available. The reason being releasing announcements. As we said, restricted users cannot release announcements. They can only create them. So we want to make sure that there's enough admin users that for you to then release an announcement. User management. So if you want to add a new user, an admin needs to be able to do that. So if there isn't an admin available, uh, it's going to be an issue, because then a new person can't get added, and you'll have to go through another process, which I'll talk into more detail later on, but it's a bit more of a headache. So if you just have that leeway of a second or third admin user, say someone's on leave or someone leaving the company, there won't be any issues. Another person can go in with admin access and add that information in. And then another point I want to talk about is emergencies, which I'll more talk about on the next slide. So say you need to release an announcement with urgent need, and you don't have an admin user to release it. You only have a restricted user, or you just don't have a map user available, and you need someone to get added on. That is something that needs to be taken into consideration when you're setting up the amount of map users you have. Also, just for clarity, when there are issues with NTA figures or any issues we have, we do email the map users. Now, this is going to be less of an issue because there are going to be an issuer representative that you will be assigned in your company, and they will be CC'd onto the email. But this is just something to take into consideration, because you probably want, a decent amount of people over any issue when it comes to releasing your announcements that we have picked up. So the next part I want to talk about is if an admin user isn't available. So say you need to request a new user, say you're joining the company and you need to become a map user, but say the admin user that is there is on vacation, is on leave, just not available in the short term, or maybe has just left the company and there just isn't a map user available. The process for that is then the issuer can fill in a map agreement form, which is in the useful resources section, fill in the details, and then email it to productoperations@nzx.com. And then you will CC in an authorized staff member of your company, and they will be added to the chain. They will sign off essentially the agreement. So that is really in an emergency situation. We want to highlight that we want the issuer to manage their own users. This is only in case that it's just not possible. There isn't an admin user available. A couple of times in recent memory, I've seen just the only map user that is on the company is just gone, has left the company, and a new person is joining. So the only way they can get added in is through requesting a map agreement form. So emergency release situation. So this is more in the event if an issuer needs to release an announcement with urgent need. So, and there isn't an admin user able to release. So I did discuss this in the previous slide. What you can do is you can contact the product operations and we can release your announcement on your behalf. So this is more or less the commonly we see this is when the announcement is material. So those announcements obviously need to get out immediately. And if you don't have an issuer, pardon me, not an issuer, a user available to release that announcement, 100% email us the announcement at nzx.com and with the details of the announcement. Highlight the announcement type, the headline, the body of announcement, the materiality, and if it needs to be embargoed, and any issuer data that needed to be inputted, or the relevant attachments. So in a situation where if it's material, we do probably would be beneficial if you call the helpline. So we are more across over. Obviously, we do manage all the inboxes at the product operations, but if especially if it's material and needs to go within 10 to 15 minutes, um, really do call us because this will, make us more aware of it immediately and will be prioritized much more quickly. Otherwise, there are situations where, it can cause, there's no market clarity if you're not releasing the material announcement in time, so that can be an issue that can cause other things. So I want to highlight is that this is really for material announcement situations, or it's just there isn't anyone available at all to release an announcement that has map access and you need to release it. Maybe it's not material, but soon, then we can consider it. But we just want to highlight it's mainly for situations where the announcement as material. We just mainly want you to take into consideration, we want you to manage your own announcement releases, just as I said, for emergencies. So the next part I want to talk about is resetting your password. So say, for example, you've forgotten your password or you need to reset it, you can go forget your password, and then you'll get an email that will direct you to this. The link will direct you to this, and then you'll just enter your new password and then repeat it again. Now, if you've entered your password many times and it comes up with an error saying maximum login attempts, what you will need to do is then reset your login attempt. So the only way to do this is that you will reach out to us at productoperations@nzx.com. You can give us a call if you would like, but we would also like you to email us just for record keeping purposes. So just email us, say that my password isn't working. I've reached the max login attempts. We will then go into map and we will reset your login attempts to 0, and then you can then go forget your password and try it again, and then you'll get a link and everything will work and you'll be able to reset your password. So that essentially covers the PowerPoint presentation of the part. So what I want to just highlight is the number here. I will email these slides after the presentation, but any queries, any questions around anything that we've discussed, do give us a call, especially if it's something that's urgent. Don't hesitate. We're free to ask questions. I will then pass it over to Zach, who will then talk about map and creating announcements.
Thank you, Ravindu. Thanks for that presentation. I will take over and share my screen. Cool. So this obviously, I'm sure some of you will know, this is map. This is what you'll be greeted on when you first log into map. This is the status page, essentially an overview page of map, and you can see that there's a few different things on here. So you can see that there's some announcements being worked on. I've created some in advance, so we can have a look at those, which I'll come back to in a little bit. And it's also over here on the top right, the being the worked on section. There's a waiting for release. So once you hit that release button, this will show that announcement being released. That will release pretty quickly. So if there's something sitting in there, there might be a problem with the announcement release, for example. And there's also the last 20 released announcements for your company. And this is all available on this right-hand side as well. So moving along, this is creating a new announcement. This is going to be covered at the end, so I can actually go through and really show everybody the process of creating an announcement. So useful resources. This is quite handy for all of you because if you're ever stuck and maybe you just want to figure out for yourself or in the interest of time, you can actually find a lot of guides and information here. So some things to call out is a map data guide, which will cover data entry on various announcement types and announcements. As well as that, there is a map user guide. So that's around user management and other queries. As well as that, there is a reporting dates calendar, which might be helpful for full year and half year results, and various different templates, such as capital change notices, distribution notices, which are handy as well. Cool. Search function, I think pretty self-explanatory. This is just a feature to be able to search for historical announcements. So you're able to filter them from a minimum of 10 announcements or up to 200. You can also filter by all the various announcement types, which if you are unsure on, I would recommend checking out some of those guides as they go into depth about the announcement types. The date from, so if you want to look at an announcement from maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, you can filter that to a very specific time frame, as well as any old announcement types. So if there was a previous announcement made on an old announcement type, you can use that. Moving on, an important tab here, the user management, as my colleague has touched on a bit. This is where you can request new users, delete users, and also a couple of other features. So this is where you can change password once you're in MAP if you wish. You can also update your company overview and performance here. So this is where on NZX.com under the analysis page, you're able to add in a little synopsis. This is where you can request new users. So here we are. You would put in the person's email, their name, and this is where you would select that user type. So if you want them to be admin, make sure that admin is ticked there. As well as that, it's the same for user deletion. You'll see the list of current users and you just need to press the delete button. Upon doing so, once you do this, delete or even add a user, this will send a request to us at product operations, and once we approve that request, that will set up their account or delete their account depending on the action. Show pending requests. This is just the requests that I was mentioning about us accepting them. So any that haven't been actioned will be here. So if we haven't seen that or it hasn't been done, you can let us know if need be. Otherwise, we will approve these pretty much immediately. As well as that, here's just another list of the users. So you can also request deletion from this page. Finally, if you ever do find yourself needing some support and need to refer to us or give us a call, there is a little help option here, which does refer to the MAP user guide, as well as our number or email. Cool. And then there's a logout function as well there. Excellent. So moving back to the status page, for the announcements being worked on, I thought that it would be good to first show a couple of announcements, some common ones that we see and how these look, and then we can go through and I will create a sort of a full year. So this first one I created here, this is what a view announcement is. As well as that, you can always click up on this top right section here to find that announcement if you do find yourself losing it. So this is the view announcement or announcement summary, I like to think of it. You have your issuer, so yourselves, and whatever you want as the headline. So I've titled this one a distribution notice. Then the announcement type. So for a distribution notice, this would be a corporate action announcement type. An announcement text. So I've put please see attached distribution notice. This obviously will vary depending on the announcement. This option here for ticking material information, this is up to you as well. Third party, this will be ticked as no, as you'll be releasing for your own self. There is also this embargo function, which I will cover a little bit further when we do create that announcement. Again, companies will be down here. So this issuer up here will know, it will fill out based on what company. So for other companies, this will be, yep, that's pretty self-explanatory. Attachments. So this is where you want to add your attachments. Noting that obviously this will need to be a PDF. And here I have attached one as a distribution notice. To see what this looks like, you would just click the add attachment button there, and it will give you some information about the file size, PDF, and if you have any issues, to let us know. Once you are ready to upload, you would choose your file in here and add the title of what that attachment you would like it to be to release. Cool. And issuer data, I will move on to the next one, which is a resignation of directorships. So this has some issuer data here, pretty much exactly the same as you can see for all of the various fields up here. And down here, I haven't included an attachment in this one, but you would obviously need to attach that attachment to acknowledge that change in directorship. And here I have created John Doe starting as a director effective today. And if you want to see what this is looking like, you can click the add issuer data. It will bring up your add issuer data screen. So there's various different fields. So an allotment, gender, earnings, key dates, a change in directorship, which is what we are interested in. So if you click that one, this will bring up the entire list of directors that are currently present for the company. And you can choose their new position if they're changing from an existing director to, say, becoming general manager or chief financial officer, for example, and the effective date. To note, if there's no known effective date for the director, this won't need to be entered until that effective date is confirmed. And furthermore, just as a reference, when you put this date in, you want to put this as the last date that the director will be in that role or at the company, for instance. And this will reflect on our websites and our systems from the next business day. And this final one is the pretty common data entry, allotment of financial securities. Announcement type would be a SEC issue, which I have created here. As you can see, I've added my attachment for allotment of financial securities, and I have created a data entry here for the allotment. So your company will be listed up the top here. This is just the date of the allotment or buyback, depending on which one you have chosen. Financial products, I would recommend leaving this as the company unless you want to specify what financial product that this is for. Then there's a reason for the issue. So there's a couple of options: buybacks, DRPs, employee schemes, further issues, and initial allotments. Here, number of financial products allotted or bought back. This is the number of shares that have changed. The total number of financial products, this would be the total number of ordinary shares post completion of that allotment. And then the issue price will just be the issue price in dollars. We do have a couple of options for issued currency. As you can see, they are limited to these ones present here, although I believe commonly for most people here will be for the New Zealand dollar. Once you're happy with that, you hit confirm. This will bring up a warning in this case because MAP does have a validation system that says this is the number that we're expecting based on previous entries and previous records. So you can bypass this warning by clicking this button here, Otherwise, this is a good tool to just double check and sense check that you've entered the right number. In this case, I'm happy with this, so I'm going to press confirm. And then that will successfully edit into your issue data. Right, so now we'll go through and actually create an announcement here live. So I will create my full year results. So I'll put that in the headline there as full year results. You'll be greeted with a bunch of announcement types. As you can see, these blue are highlighted differently because these are announcements that are automatically marked as price sensitive or material. This means, so you'll see if I click this function down here, material information, will not be able to be ticked. That's because it is already marked as that. As opposed to if I choose an admin, I have that option to tick yes or no. Similarly, for embargo, you are unable to embargo any announcement that is material. Whereas I'm able to set an embargo, which, if anyone is not familiar, just means that I can choose to release this at a later time. So for these, if you are unsure, you can contact us, but I would recommend looking at some practice notes. We do have one on the announcement types in particular. So in this case, we're doing a full year result. So I'll tick the full year result. My announcement text will be, please see attached full year result. In the interest of time, I will make that pretty simple. Cool. So once you hit that button and hit create, you will end up on this screen, which is your add security. We recommend just to leave this as NA or just as your whole company. I know that there'll be different securities, but just NA is okay. Again, we'll be brought back to this add issuer data screen, and you'll see that there are some red data points here. This is because MAP knows the announcement type and is built into prescribed categories. So because I've chosen the full year, it knows that we most likely need to enter this earnings and net tangible asset figures. Cool. And if you do want some assistance, there is again additional links here to help you. So we'll enter some earnings data here. When you click this button, the below will pop up, and again, you'll see your company here at the top. Your balance date will be the balance date. So this one is the end of the year for us, and the previous end of year date will be the last full year date. So if you're doing a half year, the difference in dates will be 6 months. For full year, it'll be 12 months. Reporting currency, again, limited to these currencies, New Zealand dollars in our case. The amount total profit loss, so profit or loss, we will say 10,000. Noting that if this is a loss, you want to put a minus sign, not brackets, just a minus sign. Shareholder funds, so total equity attributable to holders, put this as 1,250. Intangibles, inclusive of goodwill. You may choose not to have some intangibles, that's up to you. Issued shares, that's again the total number of ordinary shares on issue as of balance date. I'm going to tick this button now, confirm and add another, because with earnings data, with my full year, we need to add earnings data as well as a net tangible asset figure. So if I click this confirm and add another, again, I will get that validation. You can see expected shares issued to be this number here. So if I entered this number, then your map wouldn't ping me on this, but it has. So again, I'm happy with this. I'm going to click confirm and add another. And now it will just bring you straight back to the add issuer data screen. However, you can see if it's been saved by seeing data saved there. Excellent. So net tangible asset figures, as my colleague had shown previously, the applicable date. So in this case, this will be our balance date. The currency is here. again, limited to those options. And this is the NTA value per share in dollars. So put 0.21. Because now I'm confident that I have entered all of my data, I will tick the confirm option. Again, acknowledging that there will be a variation and a validation, but I am happy, so I will tick confirm, and you successfully added additional data. And that is the main gist of this, of map and the features, and also taking through an announcement. So I guess we can open it up for some questions if everybody would like to, and everybody has some questions.
Hi, Zach. I do have a question.
Yeah, no
and
worries.
it's regarding bundling documents for half year and full year results.
Yep.
Is it possible to have, and we've seen this for other companies, have a heading, half year, full year results, and have multiple documents that rather than separate attachments. Just wanted to see if that's an option, and perhaps I don't know if you can sort of do a little demo or whether there's a guide to illustrate how to do that.
Yep, absolutely. I can, while I have it open, so I'll pull it up now. So just to clarify, you meaning adding more than one attachment into the announcement?
Yep.
Yep, okay. That is definitely doable. So I will just put this in here. As long as that is under the 30 megabyte limit, there should not be any issues with that.
And is there a way to check, like, is it we need to sort of identify the file size from our end, or when we attempt to upload it, would your system tell us it's too large?
So you can obviously check it on your end,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
will, when you go to attach it, it will say file size has exceeded maximum limit. So that would not allow for it to go.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
so you can see there is now 2 attachments in here, and also there's actually the size
Oh,
listed
okay.
over here. So that's in
Yep.
kilobytes, obviously, whereas the limit
Yep.
is megabytes.
Okay.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Okay. And if it does, hang on. So there's no limit to the number of attachments as long as the size of all the attachments don't exceed.
Yeah, correct.
Was it?
Yeah.
And was it did you say it was 30
Per
megabytes?
attachment, 30 megabytes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they do exceed, then you have to split up into 2. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then if you have to split up, you probably wouldn't do half year one, half year, you would then do individual.
Yeah.
Depending on the type of announcement. Okay.
Yeah. Or, I mean, I suppose you could try to lower the size of the attachment, but again, that would
Okay.
sort of be something to do on your end.
Be a bit tricky. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
No worries. Anyone have any further questions?
I just wondered whether you were going to introduce any capability to be able to replace an initial document rather than having to load them in a specific order. So if you have, say, 6 documents loaded and you want to change the first document, currently you have to delete all 6 documents and then reload all 6 documents. Are you exploring any options to make it more user-friendly?
At this current moment, we're not, but that is something that we could look into because that would be beneficial, I believe. So I will actually note that down and share that with the team and see what we can do on that.
Thank you. That would be helpful.
No worries. Thank you.
Hi, just on that, also the ability to drag and drop files. rather than upload?
I think that feature is currently in map. So if we have a look, do you mean attaching it straight onto the choose file option? So we can,
Without having to go into that, that
oh
drag and
yeah.
drop.
So we can, if you have the, like, you know, where your documents are located on the computer, you can drag it from in here rather than just ticking the choose file option. But
Okay.
that will be the limit on that, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
And actually, just following up on the previous one, sorry, Megan raised, the ability to be able to reorder the documents would be helpful.
Yeah, that's I actually agree with you on that.
Right, thank you.
If we have no further questions, we can call it here and give you guys back your 15 minutes from your day. Yes,
I think
Anita.
someone got their hand up. Yeah.
No, sorry, that was an error.
Oh.
But
No
thank
worries.
you anyway.
No worries.
Sorry, can I ask a quick question? If you have one announcement which touches on multiple data points, is the preference that you do 2 separate announcements?
It depends on the, like, if it's are you talking about NTAs and earning results, or are you just talking about like a complete different data set?
Well,
data points?
yeah, like just trying to think of an example, like, yeah, maybe if you had you know, end of year results, and then at the same time you needed to change directors and senior managers.
Oh, okay.
So you'd like it all happens on the
Yeah.
same day. You have to announce it at the same time, but
That-
it doesn't allow you to input data on all of those points.
I think the preference from us is that you do it as a separate announcement. I can come back to you with a more clearer answer. That is a good question, because we do prefer if you're making an announcement around, you know, change of director, and then you're doing you know, a full year result, I think my opinion would be that you would do the director change announcement separate and then do the full year and half year. I'm not even sure if you can. I've never seen any announcement where someone has done a director change and then has also released their full year. If Zach had more thoughts on that, it'd be helpful.
I personally have not seen that specific situation, but
Yeah.
there are cases we have seen that there have been multiple different data entries for different things. So there will be some announcement of a change in director as well as like an allotment of financial securities in that same announcement. So it is possible. Perhaps as a recommendation, I would suggest, just because of the full year being an important document, maybe it's best to have that on its own. But for other data entries, that should be okay.
Yeah, that's what I would agree on. It's just the full year probably should be separate. In terms of the other situations where it's like a director and allotment, I guess that's up to your discretion. I don't think I'm aware of any listing rule that specifically says you have to release it separately. I guess that's up to your discretion how you want to release it. From my perspective, I probably would release it separately, but I guess if you're squeezed for time or that's something that you prefer, then you can just release it on the same announcement. But we can come back to a more clear answer if there's something any different from what we said.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I think there are some important considerations here. Obviously, some announcements are what we'd call material, and those announcements will result in a trading halt of your company or stock. So if you are, sort of compounding announcements, some that are material and some that perhaps are not, such as, important financial results that would halt the trading of your company, as opposed to something like a director's change, which may not be material, then you definitely want to release them separately. as one would result in a trading halt and one may not?
Yeah, I would completely agree. If you're doing a material announcement, that should be separate. You shouldn't be, especially because of the time and all that stuff, you shouldn't be going out and then adding something that's completely separate because that results in trading out. So yeah, I completely agree. If you're having a material announcement, release that separately. Yeah, completely agree. Well, if there isn't any more questions, I think we will wrap it up there. Thank you everyone for your time. That will be a recording that I'm pretty sure we'll post on YouTube. And we'll also share these slides for your reference later on. There will be a map seminar sometime in the future, but until then, thank you very much, and I hope you have a very good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.